The phone rang at 11:47 on a bright Tuesday morning, but somehow, the sound felt like midnight. I was standing outside a small roadside tea shop, holding a paper cup of coffee I had not tasted yet, watching sunlight spill over the busy street, when her name appeared on my screen after 7 silent years. Myra Qureshi. For a moment, the whole world seemed to stop moving. The traffic noise faded. The laughter from the tea shop disappeared. Even the warm daylight felt cold against my skin, because some names do not just appear on a phone screen. They open doors you buried with shaking hands. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the kind of love that finds people even after life breaks them apart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Lifeline Hub. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may need them today. I had loved Myra in college with the kind of love that makes a person foolish and brave at the same time. We were both 20 then, studying in the same university, sitting under the same old neem tree between classes, sharing cheap samosas, impossible dreams, and promises too heavy for people that young. She wanted to become a school counselor because she said every broken child deserved one adult who listened. I wanted to become an architect, not because I loved buildings, but because my father had once told me that a man should leave something standing behind him. Back then, Myra believed in me more than I believed in myself. When I failed an important design presentation, she sat beside me in the empty corridor until evening and told me failure was not a grave, it was only a classroom. When my mother got sick during my final year, Myra missed her own college event to sit with me outside the hospital ward, holding my hand without saying anything. She knew when silence was kinder than words. But love does not always end because people stop caring. Sometimes it ends because life becomes louder than love. My father's business collapsed. My mother's treatments became expensive. I started working nights, missing classes, missing calls, missing pieces of myself. Myra tried to stay, but I became proud in the ugliest way. I thought needing someone made me weak. I thought pushing her away would save her from my problems. The last time we spoke properly, it was outside the university gate on a golden afternoon, not unlike this one. She had tears in her eyes and asked me why I was acting like she was a stranger. I said words I did not mean, words sharpened by fear and shame. I told her she deserved someone with a future. I told her to stop waiting for me. She stared at me as if I had slapped something innocent inside her, then she walked away. I expected her to turn back. She never did. 7 years passed. I became an architect, though not the famous one I had imagined. I built modest homes, repaired old offices, designed small shops for people who counted every rupee before signing a contract. My mother survived, but her illness left her fragile. My father became quieter. I learned responsibility, but I never learned peace. Some nights, I would still remember Myra's laugh, the way she tied her hair when she was nervous, the way she wrote little notes in the margins of my sketchbook. But I never called. Pride, regret, and time formed a wall too high for me to climb. And then, on that ordinary daytime street, she called me. I answered with a voice that did not sound like mine. For 2 seconds, there was only breathing. Then she said my name softly, and my heart remembered everything before my mind could defend itself. Her voice was older, tired, but still hers. She did not ask how I was. She did not explain why she had called after so long. She only said she needed to meet me today, before sunset, because there was something I deserved to know. I wanted to ask 100 questions, but fear closed my throat. We agreed to meet at noon in the old botanical garden behind our college, the same place where we had once planned a future with reckless certainty. I drove there with trembling hands. Daylight was everywhere, bright and honest, making it impossible to hide from the past. The city had changed. New buildings stood where empty plots used to be. Cafes had replaced stationery shops. But when I reached the garden, the old iron gate still creaked the same way, and the path still smelled of wet soil and leaves. Myra was sitting on a bench beneath the gulmohar trees. For a moment, I saw the girl from college. Then I saw the woman life had made. She wore a pale blue kurta, simple and graceful, her hair pinned back loosely. Her face was thinner, her eyes deeper, but there was still a quiet strength in her posture. Beside her sat a little boy of about 6, drawing circles in the dust with a twig. He had serious eyes, a small backpack, and a stubborn curl falling over his forehead. Myra stood when she saw me. We did not hug. We did not shake hands. There are distances that 7 years create which the body cannot cross immediately. She looked at me with eyes full of things she had carried too long. Then she turned to the child and told him to go watch the ducks near the pond, not too far. He obeyed after giving me one curious glance. His eyes stayed with me. Myra sat down again, and I sat beside her, leaving space between us like a border neither of us had permission to cross. She told me she had tried to call many times over the years but had stopped herself. She said she had followed my work from a distance, seen a small article about one of my housing projects, heard from an old classmate that my mother was better. I listened, confused and afraid of the real reason she had brought me there. Then she looked toward the pond, where the little boy crouched in sunlight, watching ducks glide over green water. Her voice broke when she said his name was Xavier. I nodded, not understanding. She pressed her hands together in her lap and said the sentence that changed the shape of my life forever. She told me Xavier was my son. The garden did not spin like it does in films. There was no dramatic thunder, no sudden wind. There was only sunlight, birdsong, and a silence so heavy I could barely breathe under it. I looked at the boy again. The curl on his forehead. The serious eyes. The way he held his twig like a pencil. My chest tightened painfully. 1,000 emotions rose together, anger, shock, disbelief, grief, love, and a terrible sorrow for years I had not known I was losing. Myra began to cry quietly, not loudly, not for sympathy. She told me she had found out after we broke up. She had gone to my old house twice, but my family had moved closer to the hospital. She had called my number, but it had changed. She had written an email, then deleted it because she thought I hated her. Then her own family found out, and everything became chaos. Her father sent her to live with an aunt in another city. She finished her degree online, raised Xavier alone, and built a small counseling practice for children. She said she had not hidden him to punish me. She had hidden him because by the time she became strong enough to face me, she was terrified I would reject him too. Those words cut deeper than blame ever could. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to say I would have come, I would have stood beside her, would never have rejected my own child. But the truth stood between us like a judge. I had pushed her away. I had changed my number. I had disappeared into my own pain and called it sacrifice. Maybe I would have been there. Maybe I would not have been ready. The cruelest part was that neither of us could know. Xavier came running back with a feather in his hand. He stopped near Myra and whispered something in her ear. She wiped her face quickly and smiled at him with practiced tenderness. Then she introduced me as an old college friend. Old college friend. The words hurt, but I knew I had not earned anything more yet. He showed me the feather. I asked if he liked drawing. His face lit up for the first time, and he told me he liked drawing houses with secret rooms, because secret rooms could keep sad people safe. I looked at Myra, and she looked away. I felt something break open inside me. This child, my child, had been living in the world with my blood, my habits, maybe even my loneliness, and I had been absent from every fever, every first word, every school morning, every fear. Myra told me she had not called because she needed money. She had not called to restart what we lost. She called because Xavier had recently started asking about his father. Not with anger, just curiosity. He wanted to know if his father liked mangoes, if he could draw, if he had ever been scared of the dark. Myra said she could not keep answering with half-truths. And then she told me the second thing that changed everything. She had been diagnosed with a heart condition that required surgery. The doctors were hopeful, but she was scared. Not for herself, she said, but for Xavier. She wanted him to know me before the hospital, before fear, before life made choices for them again. I sat there in the daylight feeling smaller than I had ever felt. For years, I had believed my greatest regret was losing Myra. Now I understood I had lost a son without even knowing his name. I asked her what she wanted from me. She said she wanted honesty, patience, and no sudden promises that would disappear when emotions cooled down. She said Xavier did not need a hero for one afternoon. He needed a steady person who would show up again and again. So I showed up. Not perfectly. Not easily. The first weeks were awkward. I met Xavier in parks, bookstores, and small cafes where he ordered chocolate milk and judged my sketches with brutal honesty. He did not know I was his father at first. Myra and I agreed to move slowly. I learned his favorite color was yellow because it looked like morning. I learned he hated loud noises, loved dinosaurs, and asked questions that could humble philosophers. I learned Myra had raised him with softness even when the world had been hard on her. Every time I saw them together, love and guilt fought inside me. My mother cried when I told her. My father sat quietly for a long time, then asked when he could meet his grandson. There was no anger in his voice, only regret passed from one generation to another. We all had to learn how to become a family without pretending the missing years did not matter. The day before Myra's surgery, we took Xavier to the same college garden. It was afternoon again, sunlight pouring through the trees. Myra looked tired but peaceful. Xavier ran ahead with a kite my father had bought him. I walked beside her, both of us older than our memories. She said she had forgiven me long ago, but forgiveness did not mean nothing hurt. I told her I knew, and for the first time, I did not try to explain myself. I only apologized, fully, without pride, without excuses. I told her I was sorry for leaving her alone in the season when she needed me most. I was sorry for making her feel like love was a burden. I was sorry for every birthday I missed without knowing there was a candle meant for me to see. She cried then, and I cried too, not like lovers in a dramatic reunion, but like two tired people finally putting down a weight they had carried across years. The surgery lasted 4 hours. I sat outside the operating room with Xavier asleep against my side, his small hand gripping my sleeve. Myra's aunt prayed under her breath. My parents sat nearby. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and fear. Every time footsteps approached, my heart stopped. I kept thinking of that old college corridor where Myra had once waited with me for my mother's news. Life had brought me back to the same lesson, only now I understood it. Love is not proven by beautiful words. Love is proven by staying in the hallway. When the doctor finally came out and said the surgery had gone well, I covered my face and wept. Xavier woke up frightened, and I held him carefully, telling him his mother was okay. He looked at me for a long moment and asked why I was crying if everything was fine. I told him sometimes people cry because their heart has been holding its breath for too long. Weeks passed. Myra recovered slowly. During that time, Xavier learned the truth. We told him gently, together, in Myra's living room while afternoon light fell across his dinosaur toys. He was quiet at first. Then he asked if I knew how to make pancakes. I said badly, but I was willing to learn. He nodded as if that was a fair beginning. Later, he climbed into my lap without warning and asked if he could call me Baba someday, not today, but someday. I held him so carefully, afraid my happiness might scare him away. Myra and I did not rush back into romance. Real life is not a movie where one confession repairs everything. Trust had to grow like a wounded plant, slowly, with care. Some days, she was distant. Some days, I was overwhelmed by guilt. Some days, Xavier asked questions that reopened pain. But we kept choosing honesty. We kept choosing presence. I attended school meetings. I learned bedtime stories. I burned pancakes. I helped Xavier build cardboard houses with secret rooms, and one evening he told me the secret room did not need to be sad anymore because now it had windows. That was the day I understood healing had begun. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Lifeline Hub. Your engagement helps emotional stories of forgiveness, family, and second chances reach people who may be waiting for hope in their own lives. Months later, on another bright afternoon, we returned to the college garden. Myra was stronger now. Xavier ran between the trees with a yellow kite flying above him. I watched them and felt the strange mercy of life. It does not always give back what was lost, but sometimes it gives us a chance to love what remains with more courage than before. Myra stood beside me and slipped her hand into mine. Not as a promise that the past had vanished, but as proof that pain did not get the final word. I looked at our son laughing beneath the open sky, and I silently thanked the phone call that had frightened me, shattered me, and saved me all at once. Special request: comment second chances heal if you believe some broken hearts can still find their way home. Because that day I learned something I wish I had known when I was young. Love is not just the person who stays when life is easy. Love is the courage to return, the humility to repair, and the patience to become worthy of the people you once failed. And sometimes, one unexpected call in the middle of an ordinary day can change everything, not by taking you back to the past, but by leading you toward the family your heart was waiting for all along.